Qi Xiaodao bowed 3 times, feeling overjoyed and completely relieved of the worry in his heart. Although he was an open-minded person, his cultivation path had been stuck at the soul-nurturing realm, making it difficult to advance even half a step. Even though he maintained a cheerful demeanor, he was inwardly suffering. But today, this nightmare was finally resolved. To him, it felt as if sunshine was cast upon him, making him feel incredibly light. Qi Xiaodao stood silently at the side. Previously, she had thought Li Qiye was a swindler, and when Li Qiye first proposed modifying fate, she thought he was talking nonsense, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. However, the matter which seemed impossible in her eyes, and in the eyes of many others, was carried out by Li Qiye with effortless ease, as if it were nothing. Everything in the world, in his hands, seemed so easy, fundamentally without any difficulty. The successful fate modification for Qi Xiaodao immediately caused a stir among the high-ranking members of the Lion's Roar sect. The elders felt it was unbelievable. However, after verifying Qi Xiaodao's condition, it was indeed a successful fate modification. This instantly shocked the elders of the Lion's Roar sect. Upon learning of this matter, the elders specializing in the alchemical Tao in the Lion's Roar sect immediately came out of seclusion. They humbled themselves, thick-skinned, coming to ask Li Qiye for guidance on the matter of fate modification. Merely a small technique. Regarding the elders' request for guidance, Li Qiye merely dismissed it with a nonchalant remark. Merely a small technique. Hearing such an indifferent comment, the elders of the Lion's Roar sect forced a wry smile and remained silent for a long time. This was fate modification, after all. How many alchemists strove their entire lives and failed to even touch this field? Only legendary alchemists could accomplish such a feat. Although his words sounded immensely arrogant, the elders of the Lion's Roar sect had no choice but to admit Li Qiye possessed the qualifications for such a statement. At such a young age, he could already modify fate. His prospects were limitless, he would absolutely become a medicine emperor in the future. Since Li Qiye was unwilling to give guidance on the art of fate modification, the elders of the Lion's Roar sect dared not say anything. Such a secret art is something no alchemist or sect would ever transmit to an outsider. However, the elders of the Lion's Roar sect still came thick-skinned, asking Li Qiye for guidance on alchemical Tao cultivation. One must know that the elders of the Lion's Roar sect were transmitting the alchemical Tao to outsiders. However, this elder was truly sincere. Li Qiye, out of respect for the fact that the ancestors of the Lion's Roar sect were once absolutely loyal to him, made an exception to guide him once. Hearing Li Qiye's words, the elder bowed, immensely excited. He was willing to be Li Qiye's apprentice. When Li Qiye guided him in alchemical Tao cultivation, it immediately shook the elder. Li Qiye's guidance instantly enlightened him. Problems he hadn't understood before were now easily resolved. What shook him even more was that Li Qiye spoke continuously, imparting the alchemical Tao methods, leading him into the true palace. At this moment, the alchemist truly understood what the alchemical Tao was. Previously, what he had learned was merely the minor Tao. Li Qiye stayed in the Lion's Roar sect for a short period. During this time, aside from guiding the elder in alchemical Tao cultivation, he was either cultivating or pondering the ghost origin ancestral key. As he delved deeper into his contemplation, he began to find clues, learning some secrets of the ghost origin ancestral key and grasping some of its profound mysteries. During the time Li Qiye stayed in the Lion's Roar sect, the sect revered him as an honored guest. If Li Qiye hadn't already had a master and sect, the Lion's Roar sect would likely have desperately tried to recruit him into their fold, perhaps even offering him the treatment of an elder. Brotherly, 2 days from now, there will be a sermon ceremony in the imperial city. Shall we go? One day, Qi Xiaodao, who had been missing for several days, rushed in, unable to hide his excitement as he spoke to Li Qiye. Li Qiye looked at the excited Qi Xiaodao, sizing him up and saying, "Seeing you so excited, are you perhaps smitten? It's just a lecture and sermon, commonplace words. Does it warrant such excitement?" This. Caught in the act by Li Qiye, Qi Xiaodao was extremely awkward, forcing a dry laugh. Princess Baoyun is coming. Just then, a voice drifted in from the doorway. Qi Xiaodia was standing at the entrance. She looked at her younger brother and said. Qi Xiaodao immediately gave a dry laugh, trying to cover up, and said. Many people will come this time. It can be said that the talented young heroes and geniuses of the Eastern 100 cities will all attend. But Princess Baoyun will definitely be there, right? Qi Xiaodia looked at him, finally saying. If you like her, why don't you tell her? If you like her, don't worry about the affairs of the Tiger Roar sect. Be bold and confess to her, pursue her. Qi Xiaodao's expression changed drastically. He said. Sister. Please don't interfere. You can't even sort out your own matters. You clearly don't like Sima Longyun, but why don't you object to father when the Rage Immortal Holy Nation comes to propose marriage? Upon this turn of conversation, Qi Xiaodia's expression immediately changed. She subsequently said nothing, turned, and left. Looking at Qi Xiaodia's retreating figure, Qi Xiaodao sighed softly, shaking his head. He also wanted to help his sister, but his sister still refused to speak to their father about the matter. He couldn't help even if he wanted to. What's the deal with Princess Baoyun? After Qi Xiaodia left, Li Qiye smiled, looking at Qi Xiaodao. Qi Xiaodao forced a dry laugh, looking embarrassed, but he still said. She is the princess of the Baoyun aristocratic family. I met her 3 years ago at a grand event. You like her? Li Qiye looked at his expression and couldn't help but chuckle. Qi Xiaodao could only give a dry laugh, saying awkwardly. This. He hesitated, then said. How should I put this? I do like her, but I don't know if she likes me. If you like her, pursue her. What are you afraid of? Li Qiye smiled and said. You are not bad yourself. Do you feel you are unworthy of her? Qi Xiaodao forced a dry laugh, shaking his head and saying. That's not it. It's just that I heard the Tiger Roar sect has already proposed marriage to the Baoyun aristocratic family. The head of the Baoyun aristocratic family is willing to intermarry with the Tiger Roar sect. It's rumored that this matter is 80 or 90% certain. There's news that Hu Yu, the successor of the Tiger Roar sect, has visited several times to discuss the marriage. Speaking of this, his expression dimmed. Seeing Qi Xiaodao's downcast and despondent look, Li Qiye chuckled and said. The man is not yet married, and the woman is not yet given away. If you like her, go chase her. The Tiger Roar sect has only come to propose marriage. It doesn't mean she has already been married off. You can also compete with the Tiger Roar sect's successor for the woman. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if the woman were already married, stealing her is still fine. Fei Yang Immortal Emperor did such a thing back then. Brother Li thinks too highly of me, comparing me to the Fei Yang Immortal Emperor. I know my own limits. Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but say with a wry smile. He hesitated, then said. I won't hide it from Brother Li. I also want to pursue Princess Baoyun. But unfortunately. Speaking of this, he sighed, saying sadly. My Lion's Roar sect is no longer the chief family of yesteryear. We are in decline. Given the current status of my Lion's Roar sect. In the Eastern 100 cities, the Baoyun aristocratic family probably looks down on us. Furthermore, our Lion's Roar sect cannot compete with the Tiger Roar sect. The Tiger Roar sect is a renowned great sect in the Eastern 100 cities today. Although they cannot compare with an emperor's lineage Immortal Gate, their reputation and influence in the Eastern 100 cities are significant. My Lion's Roar sect is far inferior. Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but smile bitterly, saying. If my grandfather personally stepped forward to propose marriage, there might be a glimmer of hope. But unfortunately, after my grandfather entered secluded cultivation, he has never shown his face again. What's so special about that? Li Qiye smiled and said. How about this? I'll finish the good deed I started. I support you wanting to court a girl. Be bold and pursue the Princess Baoyun. As long as she likes you, everything else is easy. If the Baoyun aristocratic family disagrees, I'll help you beat them until they agree. If the Tiger Roar sect dares to compete with you for the woman, I'll beat them until their own parents can't recognize them. This. Hearing Li Qiye's domineering words, Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but gasp with wide eyes and open mouth. These words were too exaggerated, simply over-the-top domineering. But the Tiger Roar sect and the Baoyun aristocratic family are famous great sects and aristocratic families in the eastern 100 cities. They are not easy to provoke. My Lion's Roar sect is absolutely no match for them. Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but say hesitantly. Li Qiye said calmly. With me here, everything is settled, as long as you can woo that girl. I have an affinity with your Qi family. I will help you all the way this time. The Qi family ancestors were once absolutely loyal generals to him. They fought for him until the end in the immortal slaying Great War. Today, he still greatly appreciates Qi Xiaodao. Out of respect for his ancestor, he was willing to lend him a hand. Qi Xiaodao's heart pounded excitedly. Previously, his cultivation path was blocked, and it was difficult to advance even half a step. He had long become emotionally detached and despairing about this matter. Today, his problem was resolved, and his normal cultivation was restored. This reignited hope in him, and he mustered his courage, fueling his fighting spirit. What's wrong? You don't even have the guts to court a girl. Li Qiye looked at his hesitation and said with a smile. Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but clench his fists, saying, Good. Since even Brother Li supports me, I would be ungrateful for Brother Li's kindness if I didn't try. Don't worry, Brother Li. I will definitely not back down. If she doesn't like me, so be it. But if she is willing, no matter what, I will fight to the end. Speaking of this, his blood boiled, and his fighting spirit soared. Li Qiye smiled, patted his shoulder, and said, Now you look like a man. Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but feel a surge of courage. At this moment, his emotions swelled, and he couldn't wait to see Princess Baoyun immediately. Seeing Qi Xiaodao's demeanor, Li Qiye couldn't help but smile. Youth and vitality are truly something to reminisce about. After countless ages, there were probably no women left in the world who could make him feel that youthful rush of emotion. Is your sister going to marry that pretty boy, Sima Longyun? Li Qiye asked another question. Bringing up this matter, Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but worry. He shook his head and said, She hasn't married yet. The Rage Immortal Holy Nation came to propose marriage. In fact, this matter was brought up as early as 2 years ago, but it has been continuously stalled. Recently, the Rage Immortal Holy Nation has been pressuring us intensely. My father is also somewhat unable to withstand the pressure from the Rage Immortal Holy Nation, but he just hasn't voiced his decision yet. What is your father's intention? Or rather, what does your sister want? Li Qiye asked. Qi Xiaodao shook his head and said, My sister's feelings definitely go without saying. She fundamentally dislikes Sima Longyun. But if my father were to truly make her marry, she wouldn't have a choice. She always sacrifices for the sake of protecting the Lion's Roar sect. If she refuses, it might provoke the Rage Immortal Holy Nation to attack our Lion's Roar sect. Even if my sister is unwilling, for the sake of the Lion's Roar sect and the Qi family, she will eventually agree to marry. What is your father's true intention? Li Qiye asked. He had no complaints about Qi Xiaodao. However, out of respect for the Qi family ancestors, he could still lend her a hand. Qi Xiaodao smiled bitterly. If my father were willing, he would have made my sister marry long ago. My father suspects that the Rage Immortal Holy Nation is targeting the supreme immortal physique technique of our Lion's Roar sect, and their intentions are not good. If my sister wants to marry, he won't stop her. If she doesn't want to marry, he won't force her. However, in my opinion, if the Rage Immortal Holy Nation continues to pressure my father, my sister herself will probably agree. For the sake of the Lion's Roar sect and the Lion's Roar kingdom. Speaking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. He yearned to help his sister, but with his individual strength, how could he stand against a behemoth like the Rage Immortal Holy Nation? Rage Immortal Holy Nation. Li Qiye smiled. He knew the founder of the Rage Immortal Holy Nation, a grand completion immortal physique. He chuckled and said, "The Overlord Immortal Physique technique has a flaw." My father also guessed as much. As soon as Li Qiye said this, Qi Xiaodao's expression immediately shook. He said in surprise, "Brother Li also knows this kind of secret." "That is only a secret for the present time. The founder of the Rage Immortal Holy Nation cultivated the Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique, which is one of the 12 immortal physiques. Later, the founder achieved grand completion of the immortal physique and once swept across the 8 desolaces. This matter was extremely sensational in that era. In that time, there was a saying that if an immortal emperor did not emerge, absolutely no one could defeat him. In fact, in that era, Li Qiye, as the Dark Crow, had once witnessed the Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique of the Rage Immortal Holy Nation's founder. In reality, his Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique had a flaw. Although he created the supreme immortal physique technique of the Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique, regrettably, he was missing a crucial step. Logically speaking, he should not have been able to achieve grand completion of the immortal physique. However, he achieved a miracle that allowed him to endure the powerful physique tribulation. Otherwise, he would have died under the terrifying physique tribulation. Li Qiye's words moved Qi Xiaodao. He said, "My father also thinks so. He speculates that the Rage Immortal Holy Nation and Sima Longyun are probably targeting the immortal physique technique of our Lion's Roar sect. Since their founder, they have never produced another grand completion immortal physique. Therefore, my father believes there is likely a problem with their immortal physique technique. They want to seek the answer from the immortal physique technique of our Lion's Roar sect." Qi Xiaodao's great-grandfather, the tyrannical immortal Lion King, once cultivated the Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique. In that era, some said that the tyrannical immortal Lion King created his own supreme immortal physique technique, while others rumored that the tyrannical immortal Lion King obtained the ancient Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique immortal physique technique. Li Qiye looked at Qi Xiaodao and asked, "Does your Lion's Roar sect possess the Rage Immortal Tyrannical Physique immortal physique technique?" The supreme immortal physique technique is coveted by every sect and every inheritance. Even an emperor's lineage immortal gate hopes to obtain such an item. This. Qi Xiaodao hesitated, but finally said to Li Qiye, "This is originally a secret of my Qi family, but Brother Li has shown great kindness to me, so I can reveal a little to you. In fact, I'm not entirely clear on the details. My great-grandfather's supreme immortal physique technique has essentially been lost. But about 10 years ago, my grandfather once visited the Heavenly Tao Academy. Because my maternal great-grandfather once cultivated there, my grandfather hoped to find an answer. Afterward, my grandfather returned and has been in secluded death cultivation. My grandfather hasn't said much about the specifics. My grandfather was born with a saint physique. It's just a pity that he was restricted for a long time in his youth because he lacked a suitable saint physique technique. Hence, his saint physique was severely limited. This time in seclusion, my grandfather said that if he succeeds, he will achieve grand completion of the saint physique. It is precisely because of this that outsiders have continuously speculated that my grandfather found the ancestor's supreme immortal physique technique. It's only because the outside world lacks the true answer that people haven't attacked yet. Speaking of this, Qi Xiaodao couldn't help but worry. After all, the Lion's Roar sect is weak today, far from being a match for a behemoth like the Rage Immortal Holy Nation. Li Qiye smiled, understanding the reason, and said, "The elders of the Lion's Roar sect are all in secluded arduous cultivation, maintaining strict vigilance. Is this to guard against outsiders coming to seize the supreme immortal physique technique, or is there another reason?" "I'm afraid it's both." Qi Xiaodao forced a wry smile and said, "At the same time, it's also a defense against a potential attack by the Rage Immortal Holy Nation. My father ordered a state of alert since the Rage Immortal Holy Nation came to propose marriage. My father himself doesn't dare to leave the Lion's Roar Kingdom, constantly guarding the imperial city to prevent internal unrest." Li Qiye couldn't help but stroke his chin, saying, "When will your grandfather emerge from seclusion? I want to meet him. He still holds the treasure casket of the tyrannical immortal Lion King, which was meant to be passed down to his descendants. The Lion's Roar sect's old ancestor, the Lion's Roar Saint Emperor, who is Qi Xiaodao's grandfather, is a descendant of the tyrannical immortal Lion King. That's hard to say. I don't know either. My father said that if grandfather succeeds, it might be within 3.5 years. If he fails, it will likely be a distant prospect. Qi Xiaodao said. Hearing these words, Li Qiye remained silent for a moment. His affinity with the Lion's Roar sect was quite deep. The Qi family ancestors were his faithful generals, and he also shared a segment of karma with the tyrannical immortal Lion King. Brother Li. At this moment, Qi Xiaodao looked up at Li Qiye, scratching his head and asked playfully, "What do you think of my sister?" He intended to match his sister with Li Qiye. In fact, he also felt that Li Qiye was completely worthy of his sister. Regarding Qi Xiaodao's question, Li Qiye merely smiled, saying nothing. I understand. Qi Xiaodao forced a wry smile. Even a peerless figure like Bing Yuxia, Li Qiye said she could only be his handmaiden. Although his sister was the princess of the Lion's Roar Kingdom, a noble child, compared to Bing Yuxia, she was far inferior in terms of status, beauty, and talent. In Li Qiye's eyes, if even Bing Yuxia could only be a handmaiden, what about his sister? Brother Li must attend this sermon. Qi Xiaodao, looking excited, changed the subject and said, "The person giving the sermon this time is extraordinary. Perhaps she can catch Brother Li's eye." Li Qiye smiled and asked, "Why do you say that?" The person giving the sermon this time is Fairy Mei of the Long River sect, the current foremost genius of the Eastern 100 Cities. She can be called the #1 person in the Eastern 100 Cities. Qi Xiaodao hastily told Li Qiye. Whenever Fairy Mei was mentioned, he couldn't help but admire her. In fact, in the Eastern 100 Cities, anyone who mentioned Fairy Mei couldn't help but be moved. Long River sect. Li Qiye squinted, murmuring. Qi Xiaodao said, "That's right, the Long River sect. The #1 great sect in the Eastern 100 Cities. Fairy Mei is the current successor of the Long River sect and also the person of this generation who has entered the secular world from the Long River sect. The Long River sect, in the Eastern 100 Cities, anyone who mentioned this name couldn't help but show reverence. Even across the entire human emperor world, any cultivator who mentioned the Long River sect would be highly respectful. The Long River sect, 1 sect, 3 emperors. It is one of the most ancient inheritances in the human emperor world. Looking across the entire human emperor world, those who can compare with the Long River sect are few and far between. The only one that can truly compare with the Long River sect is the legendary Qizhu Mountain of the Southern Red Earth. 1 sect, 3 emperors, what a terrifying existence. In the Central Great Territory, an inheritance like the Qing Xian ancient kingdom, which produced 1 sect, 2 emperors, was already the most powerful inheritance there. The Long River sect, with 1 sect, 3 emperors, is unfathomably deep. It was established in the ancient Desolate Era. From the Desolate Era to the Wilderness Era, to the ancient Nether Era, and then to the Era of the Emperors, and even until now, the Long River sect can be said to be one of the most ancient inheritances in the human emperor world, spanning the river of history. That the Long River sect could endure countless ages without collapsing, showing no signs of decline, illustrates just how powerful and terrifying the Long River sect is. Somewhat interesting. Li Qiye couldn't help but smile. The Long River sect, in that distant era, there were things associated with it that were worth reminiscing about. Qi Xiaodao said. Fairy Mei is the successor of the Long River sect, and she entered the secular world to cultivate in this generation. She has been in the mortal world for a long time and has given sermons to many geniuses and talents. In recent years, many talented young heroes have followed her. This time, Fairy Mei's travels brought her near our Lion's Roar sect. My father had to go to great lengths to persuade her to choose the Lion's Roar Imperial City for a sermon. After hearing the news, not only the young elites in our Lion's Roar Kingdom, but even the young elites from many surrounding kingdoms and sects have rushed here, hoping to personally hear Fairy Mei's sermon. This time, my father is inconvenient to preside, so he asked my sister to step forward and host the event. Qi Xiaodao said. Li Qiye smiled, glancing at Qi Xiaodao and saying, "Is your father using this sermon opportunity to assess men for your sister? Or is he using it to align with the Long River sect?" This. Qi Xiaodao gave a dry laugh, forced to say, "Perhaps both. This convention can be said to attract young elites from the Lion's Roar Kingdom and even many surrounding kingdoms and sects to listen to the sermon. My father also hopes my sister can find her ideal match. If my sister truly marries, the Rage Immortal Holy Nation won't have much to say." Li Qiye smiled, saying no more. One could only say that the Lion's Roar King had good intentions. My sister is hosting this convention, and I am just helping out. Qi Xiaodao hastily said. "Why don't you help my sister out too, Brother Li? I believe Brother Li can manage everything." Although Qi Xiaodao knew his sister had no chance and he couldn't match Li Qiye and his sister, he was still trying his best to create opportunities for his sister. "I'll just watch from the sidelines." Li Qiye smiled and said. "Such a minor matter. You two siblings can handle it." How could he not know Qi Xiaodao's thoughts? Qi Xiaodao said nothing more. Having spent time with Li Qiye, he understood that opportunities had to be seized by oneself. His sister had indeed missed a good chance and did not receive Li Qiye's favor. The news of Fairy Mei entering the Lion's Roar Imperial City to give a sermon, once released, caused a sensation throughout the entire Lion's Roar Kingdom, and even the whole Eastern 100 cities. Suddenly, there was widespread discussion. Hearing such news, countless cultivators came rushing, especially the younger generation, who were incredibly excited, all wanting to witness the fairy's unparalleled grace once. Fairy Mei, the successor of the Long River sect. The person who entered the secular world, Mei Suyao. Those who had met Mei Suyao called her a being only found in the heavens, who for some reason descended to the mortal world. Countless holy maidens and princesses, noble children who were proud of their looks and talents, were said to have felt dim and inferior after meeting Mei Suyao. They dared not compare themselves to Mei Suyao, nor compete with her. Mei Suyao was not just the Long River sect's successor who entered the secular world, nor was her greatness confined to her unparalleled beauty. Even more terrifying was the legend that she was born with an immortal bone, unique and rare for countless ages. A cultivator's talent is judged by their life wheel, physique, and fate palace. Other than these three, there are few things that can directly impact cultivation. The immortal bone is one of them. Moreover, the immortal bone is unique and rare to find across countless ages. Legend has it that those who possess the immortal bone will be invincible in their era. There are even rumors that those who possess the immortal bone can be comparable to an immortal physique. Of course, this is legend, the specifics of which outsiders find hard to guess, because throughout the ages, those who possessed the immortal bone were very few. And Mei Suyao's immortal bone was even more extraordinary. Legend says Mei Suyao's immortal bone was located at her glabella, the glabella immortal bone. There are rumors that the glabella immortal bone is the foremost immortal bone. As for whether that is true, outsiders cannot know. However, Mei Suyao possessing the glabella immortal bone is extremely terrifying. The glabella immortal bone can simplify the complex. This means that any cultivation method, even emperor arts or heaven's will secret arts, can have its mysteries grasped by Mei Suyao simply by looking at it once. She learns everything instantly. This is still not the most terrifying aspect. Rumor has it that Mei Suyao's glabella immortal bone surpasses what people imagine. She can connect with the heavenly Tao and communicate with true gods, truly unique. As the successor of the Long River sect and the person who entered the secular world, Mei Suyao's naturally born, unfathomable glabella immortal bone makes even the older generation of powerhouses change their expressions, let alone the younger generation. The news of Mei Suyao entering the Lion's Roar Kingdom to give a sermon, once spread, immediately made the Lion's Roar Imperial City extremely lively. The crowds were 10 times denser than usual. It could be said that anyone who had heard Mei Suyao's name wanted to see the fairy's unparalleled grace once, even if they couldn't get Close to the ferry, a glimpse from afar would be enough. Mei Suyao came to the Lion's Roar Kingdom. Just a while ago, it was rumored she was heading to the southern Red Earth. I didn't expect her to return. Suddenly, the Lion's Roar Imperial City was exceptionally lively. Everyone in the Imperial City was discussing this topic. It could even be said that the entire Lion's Roar Kingdom was talking about Mei Suyao. That's right. I heard Fairy Mei went to the southern Red Earth and visited Qizhu Mountain. A cultivator with good information heard the news and immediately spread it. Hearing such news, older generation true persons and ancient saints were not surprised. An ancient saint couldn't help but say, East Long River, South Qizhu. The two greatest inheritances of the human emperor world today, both, one sect, three emperors. Legend has it that throughout history, the successors of the Long River sect and Qizhu Mountain have a tradition of debating and sparring. It is normal for Fairy Mei to enter the southern Red Earth and visit Qizhu Mountain. The successor of Qizhu Mountain is also extraordinary. I wonder who won this debate now that Fairy Mei went to Qizhu Mountain. A cultivator from the southern Red Earth knew even more details. Fairy Mei's sermon is like heavenly flowers falling, intoxicating people and making them forget the way home. After the sermon, the lingering sound is long and unforgettable. 3 years ago, I was fortunate to hear Fairy Mei's sermon in the Long River Sect's Imperial City. I benefited greatly. And I will never forget it in my life. Some young elites who had heard Mei Suyao's sermon traveled thousands of miles to attend. Even those who had heard Mei Suyao's sermon before were immensely captivated, reminiscing about the sermon scene as if they were in a trance. The Lion's Roar Kingdom was originally a small nation. Great sects within the country were few and far between. Most sects in the Lion's Roar Kingdom were small. The number of cultivators was not that high. However, since the news of Mei Suyao's sermon spread, cultivators from the eastern 100 cities completely flooded the Lion's Roar Imperial City. To maintain order in the Lion's Roar Imperial City, the disciples of the Lion's Roar sect mobilized all their forces. The entire Lion's Roar sect hierarchy was completely exhausted over this matter. In fact, the Lion's Roar King went to great lengths to persuade Mei Suyao to choose the Lion's Roar Imperial City as the location for her sermon. This time, for Mei Suyao's sermon, the Lion's Roar Kingdom even yielded the Imperial Palace's rear garden as the sermon location. Hearing the news of Mei Suyao's sermon, countless cultivators fought to enter the Lion's Roar Imperial City. However, entering the Imperial Palace to hear Mei Suyao's sermon was not so easy. If everyone could enter the Imperial Palace to hear Mei Suyao's sermon, the Lion's Roar Imperial Palace would likely be completely overwhelmed. The cultivators entering the Imperial Palace to hear Mei Suyao's sermon were carefully selected. First, older cultivators were denied entry, because Mei Suyao's sermon focused on the principles of the Tao, which were most beneficial to the younger generation. Therefore, older cultivators were not allowed to occupy the resources meant for the young. Second, those with poor cultivation bases were turned away. After all, if a cultivator's cultivation base was too weak, even if they listened to the sermon, they would likely be unable to comprehend it, like playing a lute to an ox. Third, to organize Mei Suyao's sermon, Qi Xiaodia, as the host, especially the one presiding over this grand event, was tirelessly busy. Even Qi Xiaodao was helping with the arrangements, working like a servant. Of course, no matter how tired he was, Qi Xiaodao was all smiles. The reason this young man was so radiant was simple: the Princess Baoyun he adored had also come in person to listen to Mei Suyao's sermon. Qi Xiaodao, in particular, had shed his previous worries, looking much brighter. After gaining Li Qiye's support, he was determined to pursue Princess Baoyun. Qi Xiaodao wished that a certain person would arrive immediately, hoping to see Princess Baoyun as soon as possible. In the Lion's Roar sect, the only one who was leisurely was Li Qiye. He remained within the Lion's Roar sect, cultivating in seclusion, paying no attention to external affairs. In his spare time, he strolled around the Lion's Roar sect, enjoying the scenery. His days passed very comfortably. It wasn't until the day before the sermon began that Li Qiye entered the Lion's Roar Imperial City. Seeing the imperial city crammed with people, Li Qiye couldn't help but smile and shake his head. This was too exaggerated. Today's Mei Suyao of the Long River sect might not necessarily surpass her founder, the Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor. Thinking back to that year, when Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor, Zhu Tianyu, gave her sermon, not only cultivators from the human emperor world, but even kings and cultivators from the 9 worlds came specifically to hear her name. At that time, she had not yet become the invincible immortal emperor of an era. Recalling those immensely distant and ancient years, recalling those passionate, bright years, Li Qiye couldn't help but feel emotional. In that era, he still lacked the strength to personally mentor an immortal emperor. In that period, Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor truly resonated throughout the world, astonishing people. The kings of the 9 worlds were all captivated by her. Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor, the founder of the Long River sect, the figure who established the imperial foundation that allowed the Long River sect to stand firm. Li Qiye couldn't help but sigh, gazing in the direction of the Long River sect. The first time they met was indeed something to reminisce about. The Long River sect, 1 sect, 3 emperors. Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor was the founder of the Long River sect. Furthermore, Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor was one of the few female immortal emperors throughout the ages. The Long River sect had a total of 3 immortal emperors: Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor, Rage Battle Immortal Emperor, and Viewing Phoenix Immortal Emperor. Although it is called one of the strongest inheritances of the human race, only Rage Battle Immortal Emperor was human. As for the founder, Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor, she came from the Charm Spirit race. The Charm Spirit race is favored by heaven and can be said to be the most talented race among all races. Some even believe they were the darlings of the heavens. Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor, hailing from the Charm Spirit race, once swept across the 9 worlds. She eventually shouldered the heavens' will, achieving the title of an invincible immortal emperor. Her life can be said to have been dazzling in the desolate era. Even after countless ages, mentioning Zhu Shui Immortal Emperor today still makes people eagerly discuss her legendary deeds. Zhu Shui Immortal arrived. Zhu Shui of that year. Remembering those long and ancient past events, Li Qiye couldn't help but feel emotional. Fairy Mei is here. In the imperial city, as Li Qiye was lost in thought, the area suddenly erupted in chaos. No one knew who shouted, but the crowds immediately surged like a flood of savage beasts. Everyone rushed out. Li Qiye, who was standing there in a daze, was immediately pushed far away, shoved to the periphery of the crowd. Fairy Mei is here. Hurry and see. Instantly, screams rose and fell. Both men and women looked excited. The younger generation, especially the young male cultivators, were immensely infatuated. Seeing the young male cultivators so infatuated, Li Qiye couldn't help but smile and shake his head. Such a scene was so familiar. Throughout the ages, he didn't know how many times he had witnessed it. Clip-clop, clip-clop. A winding carriage approached. Blue smoke curled around it, like a rainbow hanging in the sky. Wherever the carriage passed, it seemed to turn into a celestial realm. It also seemed like 100 flowers blooming, green grass sprouting, and springs gurgling. Without seeing the person, one could already feel the celestial aura. Immediately, the originally bustling imperial city instantly quieted down. The imperial city was already packed with countless cultivators. So many cultivators appearing in the imperial city, jostling and pushing, was quite irritating. Thank you for listening to the story on KTN Storyverse. Please like and subscribe to support the channel. However, when the horse carriage slowly and windingly arrived, it was as if a sudden coolness descended upon the scorching summer, a sensation that permeated the heart and lungs, a feeling of immense comfort. The carriage was driven by an old man, and the successor of the Long River School, Mei Suyao, could not be seen. The only thing visible was a graceful, faint silhouette hidden within the carriage, seemingly an exiled immortal who had stepped out into the world, peerless and unique. Beholding this graceful silhouette was enough to captivate countless cultivators in the imperial city. At this moment, innumerable people held their breath, all staring at the faint shadow barely visible inside the carriage. It's Fairy Maiden Mei. Someone couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. But even in their excited fervor, they still dared not shout loudly. Li Qiye glanced from afar, smiled, and gently shook his head. This was truly exaggerated. However, the Long River School indeed possessed methods to cultivate such a successor was truly extraordinary. Li Qiye did not look further and entered the imperial palace. When Mei Suyao's carriage had gone far, a team followed after. This team was extremely divine and handsome. Their mounts were strange beasts, including celestial horses, winged tigers, and flood dragon horses. Leading this team was a young man. This youth was tall and handsome, clad in silver armor, with a silver long spear strapped to his back. His entire demeanor was radiant, and no matter where he went, he stood out remarkably. Like a crane among chickens. It's the heavenly music saint child. Seeing this young man, someone recognized his origins. A cultivator from the eastern 100 cities also remarked. The heavenly music saint child is truly devoted. It is rumored that the first time he met Fairy Maiden Mei, he was captivated by her. He once wanted to pursue Fairy Maiden Mei, offering to serve as her personal attendant, but regrettably, it is said that Fairy Maiden Mei refused. That's right. It's rumored that when Fairy Maiden Mei went to the southern Red Earth to preach the Dharma scriptures, the heavenly music saint child also followed. Another cultivator added. The heavenly music saint child used to be the heartthrob of the eastern 100 cities. Countless young women were captivated by him. I never thought that to follow Fairy Maiden Mei, he would be willing to give up everything, wishing to become her attendant. A young woman couldn't help but say regretfully. An older generation ancient saint shook his head and said, entering the Long River School, how easy is that? Especially the worldly branch of the Long River School, it is even harder than ascending to the heavens. The worldly branch represents the Long River School. Those who can enter this branch are all peerless talents of the ages. It is rumored that the raging war Immortal Emperor and the watching Phoenix Immortal Emperor both came from this branch. The heavenly music saint child is indeed a dragon among men in the eastern 100 cities, but to join the worldly branch of the Long River School is basically impossible. Otherwise, countless young talents in the eastern 100 cities would be willing to follow Fairy Maiden Mei. Regardless, we must enter the imperial palace this time to listen to Fairy Maiden Mei preach the Dharma. A young talent couldn't help but clench his fist, setting a current goal for himself. Even just seeing Mei Suyao from afar, or merely catching a glimpse of her graceful silhouette, was enough to enthrall and utterly fascinate many people. This was the rallying power of the Long River School, and this was the charm of Mei Suyao. The grand assembly for Mei Suyao's Dharma preaching was held punctually in the imperial palace's back garden. The back garden of the Lion's Roar country's imperial palace could be described as luxurious, ancient trees casting sparse shadows, old vines swaying, heavy grasses emitting fragrance, luminous spiritual herbs, and strange flowers blossoming. In the imperial palace's back garden, there were flood dragons coiled in the pond, old tortoises carrying ancient plaques on their backs, and spiritual cranes dancing. Although the Lion's Roar country was no longer as powerful as it once was, and its foundation was far inferior to grand sects and powerful nations, as the descendants of the chief family, they still retained a certain foundation, which was evident in this imperial palace back garden. At this time, the imperial palace's back garden had been opened up as the venue for Mei Suyao's Dharma preaching. Even before the sermon began, many young talents who were qualified to attend had arrived early in the back garden to avoid missing this rare opportunity. While it was still early, groups of young talents had already entered the imperial palace. For a time, outside the palace gates, people flowed like a torrent. Some talents arrived on ancient war chariots, symbolizing the prestige of their respective aristocratic families. Some rode precious, rare auspicious beasts, some descended on immortal swords, and some arrived from the sky, riding upon treasured mountains. The imperial palace's back garden was incredibly lively for a time, bustling with people. Most of the young talents who could enter this place to listen to the sermon were of high standing. There were princesses of powerful nations, saint children of ancient lands, successors of grand sects, and great talents of powerful countries. The Qi siblings, Qi Xiaodie and Qi Xiaodao, hosted this grand assembly, leading the disciples of the Lion's Roar School, working tirelessly. They welcomed guests from all directions, constantly busy. The arriving young talents gathered in small groups. All the young talents here were dragons among men. Their gatherings formed beautiful scenery, the men were handsome and extraordinary, and the women were stunningly beautiful. As the young people gathered, they inevitably discussed various important affairs in the Eastern 100 cities, which could be anything and everything. It is rumored that Overlord Xia is also in this region. I wonder if he will show up at tonight's grand assembly. A saint child of the younger generation asked. Mentioning Xia, a few of them showed some apprehension. A prince shook his head and said, I hope he doesn't come. That fellow is truly domineering and causes trouble at any time. He's even more arrogant now. There are rumors that his raging immortal overlord physique has achieved some success. I wonder if he has passed the minor physique tribulation. Another friend said. Xia, the successor of the raging immortal holy nation, and its first prince, was an extraordinary figure. He cultivated the raging immortal holy nation's nation-guarding treasure technique, the raging immortal overlord physique, and immortal physique art. A successor of an ancient sect laughed and said, Don't worry, Xia definitely won't come. Not long ago, he was chasing and killing a fierce beast. He plunged into an ancient mountain range. I'm afraid he won't be back for a while. Xia won't come, but his junior brother, Sima Longyun, surely will. The prince said. A saint child sneered. What's so great about Sima Longyun? He's merely one of the 48 innate physiques. He simply relies on the prestige of his senior brother Xia. He's not necessarily much stronger than me himself. Where there are people, there is a community of martial arts. Jianghu. Even within the younger generation of the Eastern 100 cities, peace and harmony were not a given. There were many instances of mutual enmity and jealousy. On another side, 3 or 5 young talents gathered together were also discussing matters in the Eastern 100 cities. An informed senior disciple of an ancient sect said, I heard that the luminary great talent has emerged from his seclusion. As soon as the luminary great talent was mentioned, the young talents present couldn't help but shiver inwardly and were moved. In fact, this was not their fault. In the Eastern 100 cities, few people were unmoved when the luminary ancient kingdom was brought up. The luminary ancient kingdom was one of the oldest powerful nations in the Eastern 100 cities, with one lineage producing 2 emperors. It could be said that the foundation of the luminary ancient kingdom was unparalleled by few inheritances in the Eastern 100 cities. The luminary great talent, Zhu Huangwu, was rumored to possess the peerless, extraordinarily stunning combined knowledge of the 2 emperors. 3 years ago, Zhu Huangwu went to the Heavenly Dao Academy and challenged Yue. After returning, he went into seclusion. This time, Zhu Huangwu's emergence from seclusion suggests that the 2 emperor arts have been thoroughly integrated and fused. If even Yue is not his opponent, then I'm afraid that throughout the entire Eastern 100 cities, only Fairy Maiden Mei will be able to overshadow his fame. A marquis present said with emotion. A prince shook his head and said, Not necessarily. I heard that the divine person has arrived. Someone personally saw him descend from the sky and enter the Heavenly Dao Academy. Divine person Ji Kong Wudi. As soon as this person was mentioned, not only were the young talents present deeply moved, but even other talents nearby couldn't help but be affected and immediately gathered around. The successor of the sky-trampling mountain wants to enter the mortal world. This is extraordinary. Could it be that he wants to contend with Fairy Maiden Mei for the current heaven's will? A great talent couldn't help but say, his expression changing. The successor of the sky-trampling mountain, Ji Kong Wudi, had not been active for long but had already become a legend. He was hailed as the divine person, and there were even rumors that, in the present age, apart from the Long River School's Mei Suyao, no one could compare with him. The divine person Ji Kong Wudi, even though he was not from the Eastern 100 cities, his formidable reputation spread far and wide, causing countless peers to fade in comparison. Sky-trampling mountain was an inheritance founded by the sky-trampling immortal emperor. Although sky-trampling mountain was an emperor lineage immortal gate of the mortal emperor world, it was not located in the 5 wastelands, nor the Eastern 100 cities, nor the Central Great Territory. Sky-trampling mountain was built in the outer domain, hidden high in the sky, making it difficult for outsiders to enter its gates. The divine person has arrived. Hearing this name, for a time, even the talented young experts present couldn't help but lose color. Anyone who could rival Mei Suyao was absolutely not an unknown figure. Li Qiye also arrived. He sat in an ordinary, secluded spot in the garden, quietly pouring and drinking by himself. Although countless saint children, princesses, distinguished people, and noble individuals had arrived in the garden, Li Qiye did not bother to greet anyone, just sitting quietly in his inconspicuous corner. As for Qi Xiaodao, he was extremely busy at the moment and could not get away, so Li Qiye did not go to disturb him. Big brother certainly has an elegant interest. Just as Li Qiye finished drinking a cup, someone immediately poured him another. This young man looked full of heroic spirit, with wheat-colored skin, and a whole body exuding the bright sunshine. Especially his slightly dark face, which bore a smile, had a different kind of charm. After this person sat down, he immediately poured wine for Li Qiye, displaying an extremely brilliant smile. Li Qiye glanced at him and said, "Don't you feel itchy changing your face all day? How much better it is to just be yourself." After saying that, he drank again, without offering the youth a cup. The young man chuckled dryly and said, "Big brother is joking. I'm not as confident and peerless as you. Hey, I have quite a few enemies in the eastern 100 cities, so I must avoid the limelight." This fellow was none other than Xikong Toqian, who had previously slipped away. Now Xikong Toqian had returned. He had actually managed to sneak into the imperial palace of the Lion's Roar country. This fellow truly had skill. However, he had changed his appearance, and outsiders fundamentally could not recognize him as Xikong Toqian, yet he could not escape Li Qiye's discerning eyes. "Big brother, the divine person from Sky-trampling mountain has arrived," Xikong Toqian transmitted a piece of information to Li Qiye. Li Qiye said without interest, "So what if a person from Sky-trampling mountain comes? What does it have to do with me?" After speaking, he drank another cup. Xikong Toqian busied himself pouring him wine, saying, "It is rumored that Big Brother killed Ji Kong Jian, a disciple of Sky-trampling mountain, back in the ancient Sky City. I'm afraid the divine person Ji Kong Wudi will definitely come to settle the score with Big Brother." Xikong Toqian himself was quite extraordinary, but in front of Li Qiye, he dared not act presumptuously, even humbling himself as a junior follower. "You really have some skill, running to the central great territory in such a short time and gathering such clear information." Li Qiye glanced at him and said, "You aren't trying to scheme against me, are you?" Xikong Toqian's expression immediately changed drastically. He pointed to the heavens and said, "Big brother, this joke is too big. I, Xikong Toqian, am just a small rogue. Big brother is a celestial being from the 9 heavens. Even if you gave me 100 guts, I wouldn't dare harbor an ounce of disrespect towards Big brother. Big brother ascends to the 9 heavens to slay true gods and descends into the underworld to butcher demon kings. A small figure like me admires Big brother immensely. How would I dare show any disrespect? All right, stop flattering." Li Qiye said, a person from the heavenly secret valley acting like a small rogue. There are too many small rogues in the world. After saying that, he placed his empty cup in front of Xikong Toqian. As soon as Li Qiye said this, Xikong Toqian's face immediately turned pale, and his heart couldn't help but tremble. Since his debut, no one had ever been able to see through his origins. His background had always been very mysterious. He had met countless powerful individuals, whether they were grand sect ancient saints or ancient kingdom human sovereigns, but no one could recognize his origins. However, today, Li Qiye easily exposed his background with a single sentence. Xikong Toqian's heart trembled. He took a deep breath, then poured wine for Li Qiye, and immediately smiled, saying, "Big brother's eyes are like torches. Nothing can be hidden from you. Don't worry, as long as you don't provoke me, I won't go to the heavenly secret valley and turn over your human king's palace." Li Qiye looked at Xikong Toqian and spoke in a natural and calm manner. Xikong Toqian's heart fluttered. The hand holding the wine gourd couldn't help but shake. He had met countless major figures, but no one could make him feel such apprehension as Li Qiye. How was the old Menren, human ancestor, doing? While Xikong Toqian was in a daze, Li Qiye suddenly posed this question, instantly striking fear into Xikong Toqian's heart. Xikong Toqian took a deep breath and finally steadied his mind. He gave a wry smile and said, "To be honest with Big Brother, your little brother has never seen the human ancestor since childhood. I heard the ancestors say that the human ancestor has been cultivating for a very long time. If he survived the Heavenman tribulation, there is still hope." Li Qiye said lightly. The Heavenly Secret Valley, Tianji Valley, was an inheritance that perhaps no one in the current age knew about. Even if someone did know, they would be extremely ancient, undying figures, perhaps legendary individuals. Such figures, even if still alive, would be suppressing their blood energy and sealing their lifespan. Fine, let's stop talking about your Heavenly Secret Valley. It's all old and stale matters. Li Qiye saw Xikong Toqian's fear, smiled, and did not press him further. Xikong Toqian couldn't help but sigh in relief. He had always been very mysterious and had constantly concealed his origins, but in front of Li Qiye, he felt completely exposed, as if nothing could escape Li Qiye's eyes. Big Brother should still be cautious of Xikong Wuxia. Sighing in relief, Xikong Toqian regained his composure and whispered a reminder to Li Qiye, saying, "Xikong Wuxia is absolutely a monstrous talent. He was born with the Saint Fate, Saint Wheel, and Saint Physique. The three Saint Talent, he is the foremost person of the current age. Even Fairy Maiden May, who was born with an immortal bone, might not be as monstrous as him. The three Saint Talent, anyone who heard of such innate quality would be shocked speechless. Throughout the ages, those who possessed the three Saint Talent were exceedingly rare. Merely a three Saint Talent." Li Qiye smiled and said, "He just shouldn't provoke me. I don't care what three Saint Talent he is. If he provokes me, even if he has the three Immortal Talent, I will personally break his bones. If the Sky Trampling Immortal Emperor were still alive, I would settle the score with him too." At this, his eyes narrowed. He knew who was responsible for the events at the Demon Back Ridge. If the Sky Trampling Immortal Emperor were still in the world in this life, he would use his ultimate move to utterly destroy the Sky Trampling Mountain. Since the Sky Trampling Immortal Emperor was no longer alive, he was too lazy to seek retribution from his descendants and too lazy to destroy the Sky Trampling Mountain over the Immortal Emperor's actions. Of course, if the disciples of Sky Trampling Mountain dared to seek trouble with him, he would be happy to kill one if one came, and kill a pair if two came. Hearing these words, Xikong Toqian's heart was filled with fear, a chill rising within him. He absolutely would not dismiss these words as mere arrogance. He believed that Li Qiye would definitely follow through. "Brother Li is here. Please forgive me for the poor hospitality." Qi Xiaodao, who had been scrambling about, finally got a moment to breathe. Seeing Li Qiye pouring and drinking alone, he quickly came over to greet him. Li Qiye smiled and said, "Don't be so polite with me. You're still busy. Look at your sister, even though she's busy, she's very happy inside. Ah, would you like me to tell my sister to come and show you around the Imperial Palace?" Seeing his sister, Qi Xiaodao immediately said with a laugh. Li Qiye glanced at him, smiled, and shook his head, saying, "It's all right, kid. I know what you're scheming in your heart. Don't worry, your sister will be fine. I will help her a little with that matter." Qi Xiaodao would not miss any opportunity to bring his sister and Li Qiye together. He had always worked hard to create opportunities for his sister. How could Li Qiye not know his painstaking efforts? Li Qiye still admired Qi Xiaodao, and as for Qi Xiaodie, he didn't feel any malice. It was normal for her, as a noble-born lady, to have some arrogance. Since Qi Xiaodao was working so hard to create opportunities for his sister, Li Qiye decided to give Qi Xiaodao some face. Even if he wouldn't proactively help Qi Xiaodie. Is this brother Li's friend? Seeing Xikong Toqian sitting with Li Qiye, Qi Xiaodao immediately greeted him. He did not recognize Sikong Toutian. He's that thief. Li Qiye looked at Sikong Toutian, who was sitting awkwardly beside him, and said with a smile. A small thief. Hearing what Li Qiye said, Qi Xiaodao was startled. He immediately looked at Sikong Toutian vigilantly and said. Small thief, what are you doing here? Don't you dare cause any trouble. This Dharma preaching assembly is a big event for our lions. Roar country. If you ruin it, I will definitely become your mortal enemy. It was no wonder Qi Xiaodao was startled. He did not want this Dharma assembly to be ruined, especially since Sikong Toutian had a bad reputation. Who knew what earth-shattering thing he might do by sneaking into the imperial palace? Is it that exaggerated? Sikong Toutian said with a wry smile. I am a good person. I came this time specifically to deliver information to Big Brother Li. Really? Qi Xiaodao said, half believing and half doubtful, you even dared to dig up the ancestral grave of the Tiger Mount sect. Who knows if you came here to steal the treasures of our lion's roar country? Sikong Toutian was immediately speechless. However, he had no choice. His infamous reputation preceded him. He was practically a rat running across the street, hated and pursued by everyone. Don't worry, I'm keeping an eye on him. It's nothing. Li Qiye was also amused by Qi Xiaodao's nervousness and said. Sikong Toutian immediately smiled and said. How's that? With Big Brother Li vouching for me, you can relax. I absolutely won't do anything. Honestly. I just came to listen to Fairy Maiden May preach the Dharma a bit. If he dares to do anything, I'll help you break his bones. Li Qiye also said with a smile. Sikong Toutian, whose tail had just perked up upon hearing this, immediately drooped. He had no choice but to say. I absolutely won't do anything. I can guarantee it right now. He patted his chest as he spoke. In that case. Were you planning to do something bad just a moment ago? Li Qiye looked at him and said slowly. No, absolutely not. Sikong Toutian immediately denied it, swearing to the heavens, Big Brother Li. Please rest assured. On the territory of the Lion's Roar country, I will absolutely be a good boy. I absolutely won't touch a single flower or blade of grass of the Lion's Roar country. Even though Sikong Toutian swore, Qi Xiaodao did not trust this unreliable fellow. This guy's notorious reputation preceded him. He had done everything, digging up ancestral graves, stealing treasures, swindling, and cheating. He was proficient in everything. However, with Li Qiye guaranteeing him, Qi Xiaodao finally felt reassured. Alas, is my character really that bad? Sikong Toutian couldn't help but sigh when Qi Xiaodao suspected him so much. Qi Xiaodao said angrily. How could your character be good? You still haven't returned my medicinal herbs to me. Discuss your character only after you return my medicinal herbs. Definitely will return it. Sikong Toutian chuckled dryly, then immediately guaranteed, I'm a little short of money lately. As soon as I earn enough, I will definitely return it to you. I'll personally deliver it to your door. Qi Xiaodao couldn't possibly believe such a guarantee from Sikong Toutian. He felt that the medicinal herbs that fell into the hands of this small thief were like a meat bun thrown to a dog. There was nothing to hope for. Just then, a sound of jade pendants chiming arose. And a graceful young woman approached. This young woman was breathtakingly beautiful, with hidden regal aura, causing anyone who saw her to praise her. This was a daughter of gold and jade. When he saw this young woman enter, Qi Xiaodao, who was questioning Sikong Toutian, instantly forgot everything, staring blankly at the young woman, completely mesmerized. The princess of the Treasured Cloud clan, Sikong Toutian said from the side. Even if Sikong Toutian hadn't spoken, Li Qiye knew who it was from Qi Xiaodao's expression. Xiaodao, why aren't you hurrying to receive the distinguished guest? As soon as she saw the Treasured Cloud princess arrive, Qi Xiaodao immediately called Qi Xiaodao. She was intentionally giving her younger brother an opportunity. Qi Xiaodao regained his senses, looked at the Treasured Cloud princess from afar, and couldn't help but hesitate a little. Preemptively fearing a fight, this kind of mentality won't do. Seeing Qi Xiaodao's hesitant look, Li Qiye reminded him, "Go. Bring forth a man's courage. You must have an imposing aura to conquer a woman. Whether you succeed or not, go all in. Failure is no big deal, and you won't suffer any losses. If you don't even try, you are destined to fail. A defeat without a fight is more humiliating than a massive defeat in battle. Remember. Even an invincible immortal emperor has failed before, let alone you, it's nothing major. Go, the beauty is waiting for you." Li Qiye's encouragement made Qi Xiaodao's heart tremble. He took a deep breath, igniting his fighting spirit and blazing passion. His eyes immediately lit up, and his entire demeanor changed, like a gladiator stepping into the arena. He walked towards the treasured cloud princess with heroic spirits. "This kid is getting amorous." Seeing Qi Xiaodao's radiant spirits, Xikong Toqian couldn't help but murmur. "Miss Treasured Cloud has come from afar. My country has been remiss in its hospitality." Qi Xiaodao gained confidence and went to greet the Treasured Cloud princess. He was originally a handsome person with good looks. Now, radiating confidence, he possessed a certain charm. When the Treasured Cloud princess saw Qi Xiaodao, she also smiled, nodding and saying, "Brother Qi, long time no see." Qi Xiaodia, trying hard to create opportunities for her brother, immediately said to the Treasured Cloud princess, "Sister Treasured Cloud, I won't entertain you now. My younger brother will be your guide. If he is rude in any way, feel free to give him a good lesson." Qi Xiaodia's words immediately made the Treasured Cloud princess giggle. Qi Xiaodao seized the chance and led the Treasured Cloud princess to another quiet area, away from the crowd, securing a private space for himself and the beauty. Qi Xiaodao was a bright and talkative person. Before long, sounds of cheerful laughter came from that area. Undoubtedly, he and the Treasured Cloud princess were getting along very well. "I didn't expect this kid to be quite skilled at wooing girls." Xikong Toqian glanced at Qi Xiaodao and the Treasured Cloud princess having a good time from afar, and couldn't help but say in surprise. Li Qiye gave a faint smile and said, "Which descendant of the Qi family is a coward?" In Qi Haoxiong's era, even during the most perilous times, they still marched forward with their heads held high. Thousands of years have passed. Although the Qi family has declined, how could the descendants of the Qi surname abandon the glory of their ancestors? Speaking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Xikong Toqian was moved and did not speak. Further, he had heard of the Qi surname's ancestor, a supreme figure who had experienced the Immortal slaying campaign, once famous throughout history. "Sima Longyun has arrived," someone said. And quite a few young talents stood up. Sima Longyun approached, elegant and refined, with an extraordinary demeanor. The arrogance of his origins from a great nation was instantly apparent. When Sima Longyun arrived, many young talents stood up to welcome him, a testament to his popularity. Whether it was Sima Longyun himself or his origin from the raging immortal holy nation, this destined Sima Longyun to be high and mighty. Wherever he went, he was welcomed. Although Sima Longyun was not the most talented or promising descendant of the raging immortal holy nation, and there was a considerable gap between him and the raging immortal holy nation's first prince, Ba Xia, in both origin and talent, Sima Longyun was nonetheless conferred the title of Marquis at such a young age in the raging immortal holy nation. His own cultivation had reached the profound fate realm. He was truly a genius of the raging immortal holy nation, enjoying fame in the Eastern Hundred cities and possessing a bright future. Not a few members of the younger generation were willing to fawn over him. Sister Qi's beauty tonight is dazzling and captivating, making one instantly fall in love. As soon as he arrived, Sima Longyun praised Qi Xiaodia. Although Qi Xiaodia disliked Sima Longyun, she was hosting this grand assembly today, so she had no choice but to greet him with a smile and welcome him in. After Sima Longyun took his seat, Qi Xiaodia left the disciples of her school to entertain him. Many other young talents immediately swarmed over, greeting him and trying to establish connections. Surrounded by stars and making friends, Sima Longyun was smug and imposing. Even though quite a few young talents here found Sima Longyun unbearable, They had to admit that as a talented figure from a massive nation like the raging immortal holy nation, he indeed possessed many inherent advantages that smaller nations and sects could not match. Sima Longyun chatted eloquently, his air surveying all directions. However, when he saw Li Qiye sitting quietly in a secluded corner, his expression immediately hardened, and he instantly felt displeasure. Not long ago, at the tomb auction, he had suffered a considerable loss, even losing face. Now seeing this unknown junior, Li Qiye, again, how could his heart feel comfortable? Today, Fairy Maiden Mei is preaching the Dharma. Those who can enter here are the outstanding figures of the current age, all are talented and heroic individuals. Some unknown juniors aren't perhaps trying to take advantage of the chaos, secretly sneaking in, are they? At this moment, Sima Longyun looked coldly at Li Qiye, his voice audible to everyone present. At this time, many people looked towards Li Qiye. In fact, since Li Qiye arrived, he had been sitting quietly in an inconspicuous corner. No one had truly paid attention to him. Only when Sima Longyun started the provocation did everyone notice Li Qiye. In fact, even if people noticed Li Qiye, they didn't know who he was. The Central Great Territory was too far from the Eastern 100 cities. In the current era, shortly after the end of the era of the Dao Gap, very few young people had ventured into the Central Great Territory. Not knowing Li Qiye was normal. Seeing Sima Longyun suddenly provoke Li Qiye, many people were curious. Of course, Sima Longyun's arrogant and overbearing behavior was not new, so people weren't surprised. However, many young people watched gleefully. Another person was unlucky. Daring to provoke Sima Longyun, daring to oppose the raging immortal holy nation, was asking for trouble, especially for an unknown junior, it was courting death. Li Qiye was originally pouring in. This fellow who didn't know how to live or die, had come to provoke him again. This kid daring to provoke Li Qiye truly didn't know how he was going to die. Those who can listen to the Dharma here are the current heroes. But someone of no name also dares to come here. Can they even understand the profoundness of the great Tao? Aren't they afraid of losing face? Sima Longyun said with a sneer. Some members of the younger generation who wanted to flatter Sima Longyun also laughed and said, "Brother Sima, even if they don't understand, some people can pretend to understand." Closing their eyes and sitting on the ground, even if they're dozing off, others will think they are listening to the Dharma. These words immediately provoked a burst of laughter. As for some members of the younger generation who were unwilling to associate with Sima Longyun, they shook their heads, all feeling that the unknown junior before them could only lament his bad luck. Provoking Sima Longyun meant he was definitely going to be humiliated. Li Qiye squinted his eyes. In response to Sima Longyun's sneer, he also smiled briefly and said, "Oh, isn't this Sima? The idiot who bought rotten beans for tens of millions of star jade? An idiot who can't even distinguish good from bad rotten underworld beans also ran here to listen to the Dharma. In this society, even a 3-year-old child can distinguish the quality of rotten underworld beans. You, an idiot worse than a 3-year-old child, coming to listen to the Dharma, isn't that even more nauseating than an ox eating peonies? An ox eating peonies at least knows the taste of peonies. As for you, I'm afraid you can't even write the 2 words, listening to the Dharma. Such an imbecile. How can you not be embarrassed to show yourself? With your level, even if you took off your pants and showed your small, insignificant appendage, you'd still be a self-satisfied idiot. Being an idiot isn't embarrassing, but running out and being afraid others won't know you're an idiot, and even showing off your level of idiocy, that's utterly mortifying. You should go back to your raging immortal holy nation and play with mud. Be careful not to mistake the excrement in the cesspit for mud, causing you to smell terribly offensive." Li Qiye spoke leisurely and unhurriedly, without any agitation. These were originally vulgar and shrewish insults, yet they came out of his mouth calmly, as if he were preaching in celestial treatise. Li Qiye's string of vulgarities immediately left everyone present wide-eyed. Many thin-skinned young women couldn't help but cover their ears. Some young women complained, This is too vulgar. Delightful, delightful. Truly delightful." I never thought Big Brother Li's cursing was also like preaching in celestial treatise, fluent and continuous, like picking flowers at will. It truly makes your little brother feel inferior. Sikong Toqian burst into laughter, applauding and cheering for Li Qiye. At this moment, Sima Longyan's face instantly flushed red. He was so angered by Li Qiye's words that he felt like spitting blood. After the string of vulgarities, he was so furious he couldn't speak. You. Sima Longyan pointed at Li Qiye, trembling all over. His blood energy surged, and he immediately wanted to strike Li Qiye. Li Qiye slowly glanced at Sima Longyan and said, "What you? Don't run outside when you're so mentally impaired. You even stammer when you talk, unable to put a single sentence in order. Run back and hide in your raging immortal holy nation. Don't come out and lose face. You thing that doesn't know how to live or die." Immediately, Sima Longyan's aura surged, pressing towards Li Qiye. "What do you want to do?" At this moment, Xianxia coldly snorted, her beautiful eyes widening, golden light flickering in her pupils. Xianxia originally disliked Sima Longyan. Now, the Grand Assembly hadn't even started, and a commotion was being made. This was practically destroying her reputation, causing her inner rage to soar. Sima Longyan said, "Sister Qi, it's not that I want to cause trouble, but this little brat is too presumptuous and doesn't know how to live or die. Today, I shall step in and teach him a lesson to prevent him from causing trouble in the palace, so he remembers it for a long time." Sima Longyan, as a genius, still had some wit and immediately found a very good excuse. Xianxia was indignant, her dislike for Sima Longyan increasing by a few points. If she weren't wary of the raging immortal holy nation, she would have long ago driven such a person out of the Lion's Roar country's imperial palace. Brother Li is a distinguished guest of our Lion's Roar country. He has been in the palace for some time. There is no talk of causing trouble, Xianxia said. "Sister Qi," Sima Longyan rushed to say. Xianxia interrupted Sima Longyan, saying coldly, "Today's Dharma preaching is hosted by me. I do not wish for any disturbance. Everyone is a guest in my Lion's Roar country's imperial palace today, and I welcome you all immensely. However, if there are any grievances, wait until after the Grand Assembly concludes and settle them outside the imperial palace." Until now, Xianxia had always been apprehensive of the raging immortal holy nation. Today, Xianxia's attitude could be said to be very strong. "Fine, today I will give Sister Qi some face." Sima Longyan took a deep breath, suppressing his anger. He stared intently at Li Qiye, saying coldly, "You had better not leave the Lion's Roar country, or you will surely die without a burial place." Li Qiye couldn't even be bothered to glance at him, drinking his wine alone. Sikong Toqian immediately poured him wine. Even to Sikong Toqian, he didn't put a character like Sima Longyan in his eyes. Thank you for listening to the story on KTN Storyverse. Please like and subscribe to support the channel.